March 1987 to March 2021. It has been 34 years since the month of March was dedicated to Women's History Month. 7 years prior, in 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation declaring March 8th to be National Women's Week. March 8th was also chosen by the international community to celebrate Women's Day. Now, in 2021, that we are at the end celebrating of Women's History Month, I just want to celebrate with you today to introduce you to some cooking and thank you all for your unconditional support and love and for being the roots of our lives. I also want to wish you many more to come. My name is Papa Kiwi, and today, to celebrate the end of National Women's History Month and Lent at the same time, I will have a fish-based menu with salmon, pan-seared salmon, with beurre blanc, shrimp and mushroom risotto, and on the side I will have something healthy, a steamed broccoli with red peppers, roasted corn with caramelized onions, and Parmesan crusted asparagus. And please don't forget your cut gloves, your sanitizing bucket, and your cleaning bucket, and also your corresponding color-coded cutting boards. And please don't forget to subscribe and give me the thumbs up if you like it. The last one, and voila, shallots for the risotto already prepped. Cut the mushroom in half. After you get some clean mushroom, dust them off and slice them in half moon, reserve, then use later for the risotto. I will pulse the shallots and just like this is the little tricky one, the asparagus. To find the way you cut it, you just have to go like this first, grab it here, and when it cuts here, You could try again, right here and here. This is the length that you have to cut it to. I will have, instead of floret, broccoli peas. Cut it with the skin on. And cut it in 5-ounce portions. You just make sure to dry it off because it's kind of greasy. About this size. 5 to 6 ounces salmon. A nice sharp knife. Cut it, go through with the edge, the point, the tip of the knife to separate it from the skin. The pieces, to separate the pieces because the skin is a little bit hard to cut. See, one shot. I got like about 5-6 ounces pieces. I think I cut the first one really big. So if they're too big, we could cut them in half. These are kind of too big, so we could cut them in half. All right, I am about to season the salmon, but make sure that after you buy the salmon from the store, even though that they told you that it was already scaled off or descaled or clean, make sure you clean it yourself, because I had a big surprise when after I cut the salmon, I had to go one by one and take the scales off because it wasn't cleaned properly. So. And now I will season the salmon with some SPG and Cajun seasoning, salt, pepper, granulated garlic, and some Cajun, and a little bit cayenne to give it a little kick. No lemon or any acid, because I will let it marinate for a few hours and I don't want it to discolor or to get cooked while it's sitting in the refrigerator. So I don't want to get any surprise later on when I go inside the refrigerator and try to pull it out and see that the colors faded. So I have a salmon with the skin on that I will season and pan sear. But it's really good when you marinate your salmon or whatever that you're doing for a few hours, and to give it a nice taste. Then next to the salmon, I also have the shrimp for the risotto. These are 3640 shrimp. They're not that big, and they're good for risotto, If you want to go bigger, that's fine. 3140, 3640, or 2630, or whatever shrimp. I will advise you not to go bigger than 2630, but these are really good. I always use them for risotto. For this, I will use some salt and pepper. You could use something a little bit spicy if you want to. Since it's risotto, you don't want to change the color by adding something red in it, and some fresh garlic. About half a tablespoon actually of garlic, fresh garlic. Mix it really well. Wrap it tight and leave it in the refrigerator to marinate, and saute on a little bit later. I will do my risotto a little bit different. I will saute the shrimp separate and do my risotto, start it on the stove and finish it off in the oven. So the risotto will be a little bit dry because I don't want it too saggy and mushy. Alright, see you when we start cooking. Alright guys, after all the prep, and we are about to start cooking and making some real mess. I will start the risotto right now, but I will do the risotto separately. I have a little bit vegetable oil here, but since it's risotto, I will add some butter. I will start it here on the stove, then I'll finish it up in the oven. That way the risotto won't be too mushy when you do it with the mushroom and the shrimp. And make sure that you don't burn whatever that's in there, the shallot and the butter. Add your arborio rice, sweat it a little bit. I just use like 1.5 pounds of arborio rice. I had like half a cup of shallots, but I just use a little bit of it, so that means that probably I use like a quarter cup of the shallots, because I wanted to cook 2 pounds of risotto. Then I changed my mind. I did 1.5 pounds. Add a little bit more butter. Why not? A little bit salt and pepper. Then deglaze it. If you drink alcohol or wine, you could deglaze it with white wine. I will use vegetable stock or just regular liquid water. I don't do wines and alcohol. So sweat the rice a little bit. If you want, you could taste it and see, but I know that I need a little bit more of that. Just SP, salt and pepper. The garlic was added earlier, fresh. You could add some garlic too, why not? Give it a little bit, a nice flavor. Add your liquid, the water, and just enough water to cover it. I'm not going to measure because a whole lot of people don't know how to measure. So some liquid that will cover the rice. But mainly when you do 1 cup of rice, whatever rice it is, usually you add 1.5 cup of liquid. 1 cup of rice, 1.5 cup of liquid. So I will let it simmer on the stove a little bit before I transfer it into half a pan that could go in the oven, because my pan here has a plastic handle, so it can't go in the oven. Okay, I will transfer the risotto, the arbor rice that is cooking. I will transfer that into a half pan. Cover it with plastic wrap, then foil, and stick it in the oven for about 30 minutes at 325. Time 30 minutes, and start. I will start steaming the corn. Oh, that was hot. That's the steamer, right? Should be like that. I will steam the corn, then mix it with a little bit butter. You don't need to melt the butter, because when the corn is steamed, it will be hot, really hot to melt the butter. If you want, you could use olive oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. I'm just in the mood today to use some butter. So to celebrate Women's History Month, I want to make a nice, fancy, French-style, tasty food. So all the foods are tasty: Italian, Hispanic, American, but you know. Then after that, I will spray my pan to get ready for the corn. I will use the sheet pan for the corn, to roast the corn in the oven. Alright, since the frying pan is hot, the oil has to be really hot, not too hot, because it's caramelized onions. It will take a while to get caramelized. If you're not patient enough to wait for these onions to get caramelized, when nobody's watching, you could cheat a little bit and add some balsamic vinegar. It will make it go fast and a nice taste because of the balsamic vinegar. Probably 5 more minutes, and this is done. Corn is ready. A little bit salt. There is already butter inside at the bottom. A little bit salt and pepper. By the way, I always use kosher salt instead of either the other kind of salt. I love kosher salt, and the food doesn't get too salty too fast. Sheet pan, lay it down, oven 325 for 10 to 15 minutes, depending how much you have. Corn could go in the oven too. We have 12 minutes to go, which is great because I wanted to have the corn in there for probably 10 minutes at 325. Doing the reduction of shallot and white vinegar. If you're into wine, you could add some wine. Normally it's wine, white wine, vinegar, shallots reduce almost to more than half. Then you add soft butter a little by little and whip it until it gets like a little bit thick but smooth to serve with fish. So let's start it. My white vinegar, about half a cup. It was kind of hot, it's supposed. And my shallot. I will start the beurre blanc. You incorporate the butter little by little. Soft butter. You should cut them in little pieces, but I chose not to. Make it easy on yourself. Alright, the risotto is, the arborio rice is ready for the risotto. Then I will reserve it, keep it hot. Spray them. Drizzle with a little bit olive oil. Some salt and pepper. Mix them a little bit. Make sure you don't put your other hand into the mix because you will need that hand to do the cheese. Then some shredded Parmesan on top. You could mix the shredded Parmesan with a breadcrumb if you want to, but I just like it plain like that without any breadcrumb. Avoid the starch a little bit. And voila, and I'll reserve it in the refrigerator. Then roast it in the oven. Later on, it will take 5 to 10 minutes. Some shallots and parsley. I had them already seasoned with some salt and pepper. Just add some parsley and scallion. Drizzle some scallion later for garnish. Alright guys, I'm gonna start the shrimp and mushroom risotto. I will saute the shrimp first. You could steam them, but I like it to have a little color, so I will do the shrimp first. The shrimp have been already seasoned with some salt, pepper, and a little bit garlic. I might need a little bit more. A little bit oil, because it's sticking at the bottom. You don't want that. Alright guys, we made it. The meal that was dedicated for Women's History Month. Skin on pan seared salmon with beurre blanc and some garnish around. It was nicely seasoned with some salt, pepper, garlic and Cajun seasoning. And shrimp risotto with mushrooms. For the vegetables, I have a Parmesan crusted asparagus, roasted corn with caramelized onion, and steamed broccoli with red peppers. I hope you like it, and I wish you enjoyed this month of March. Celebrate all women, and until next time.